Okay, let's get it kicked off. I know we're still in ads, but it's fine. Good morning, Willan. How are you doing? Oh dear. So, whenever maybe streaming, I know his stream is definitely not really going to be useful for you. There's music, there's and random chat, etc. So it's going to be distracting. But um, I find it kind of a good place to hang out. Um, Nice way to start the day, to be honest. And yeah, I lose track of time as well, which is not good. It means I end up starting the stream later because I screw that up every single time. It's just good banter and chatter. So, hence my notification today. Pretty snazzy, nice. I need to figure out some way of organizing my room so I have technology and stuff in the right places. I have a case coming for that today. Okay, we need to get some productivity today. So yesterday, okay. So I think we're finally at the point where I can figure out whether I've completely missed the point or not on this communications piece. I'm getting this growing feeling that I'm not seeing that I'm not seeing a coordination problem with the data, and I'm going to fall short of being able to do what I actually envision, and I might have to flip things around anyway. But that is the challenge of trying to design enough ahead that you have a plan, but not over engineering it so that you're building things you don't need. So in this instance, because I've not really tackled this pattern yet of coordinating events in the overall system, I don't know what I don't know. So this is going to be that exploration. Um, Bring this up. So let's can remove this one. That's fine because we need this one anyway. I think we can remove that. Okay. So like I said, when the change occurs, we build the diff. It that diff results in so this is Kafka. This is Kafka. Even this is Kafka. That is Kafka. That is service bus because that's a command, right? And that's a different form of communication. So we have that build diff publishes out on Kafka. So that's the same message, really. That's not really, that is the same one. It's not two separate ones, but that same. Actually, I think I would like to, if I'm going to represent this properly. So I'm trying to use the diagramming not as just a random drawing technique. I'm trying to use the diagramming to actually explain the workflows, because as we go forward, I think that will be helpful. So let's do this. Actually, let's do this and this. Kafka. don't like the look of that one now. Is that? Oh, interesting. That one doesn't join up. So arrows join up. Whoa. What? How do I do that? Whatever. So yeah, so the same Kafka event goes to both. I think that represents it. Okay. So what I did yesterday is I finished up getting the storage of the MongoDB stuff working. Now, the other day I'd had this issue where I didn't want this change activity to have an object ID on it, right? Which is what Mongo uses for its object ID, its keys, identity, etc. So I was stuck on this. Oh, what is that? Oh, they've changed the icons. Okay, that's fine. And what it came down to was just configuration. So now in the change activity, I create this new class for change activity map, which specifies map the ID member to be x.id. So this avoids having any specific behavior. So if I change this to be a different data store technology tomorrow, I would still be able to store my domain objects, assuming they understood the structure was represented properly. But if I used, whatever, it would still work. And also the before and after values, which could be an object, not just an actual value, that now serializes out. So that's good. So again, the problem with this right now is that I've kind of got this cascading thing, this cascading set of features that will either yield a successful result or will yield a need to change a lot more than I really want to change. But that's the game we play. Also, MongoDB, if you set it up in a single instance, like I'm using it for dev here, right? I don't know why it was working for changes, but it's not working for this. But George, thank you very much. I mean, considering how often you get to come in this stream, the fact that you've kept the sub for this long, I sincerely appreciate the support. I'm working from home and I will complain a bit now. I feel like 19 months is an okay fee for a bit of complaining, and that is perfectly fine. What do you need to complain about? Forgive me, I have sinned. Oh. You're on the... Where's that controller? It's like a... Which one is that? Yeah, complain away. So yeah, MongoDB. Yeah, this is what I was going to show. So I had to set this up, and this was where AI was helpful, because basically what you have to do is set up a replica set with with one replica. So you have to be part of a replica set, otherwise MongoDB in single server mode doesn't support transactions, which is interesting. So yeah, that was a challenge. So helpful. We had some help from Copilot to get this working properly. My job uses timestamps as IDs. And when I was fetching these timestamps, JP would remove insignificant zeros, and I could not make it stop. So I made a method with a for loop that checks the length of the string timestamp, and if it isn't long enough, adds a 0 to the end. Oh. Oh. I'm still stuck on timestamps as IDs. Has that not bitten sooner? What? So when you pull a record out of the database, you have to do this to add to make sure the ID. Oh, wow. So how much precision do you have to get into to avoid any collision? Or do you not insert two record, not have the risk of inserting two records? How do you avoid collision? Microseconds is I've had two records go in that sort of time period. And depending on the database technology, you just lose one of them. The assembly module assigns all timestamp. Okay. So it's not even useful for telling you. Jeez. Oh man. I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever seen timestamps used as an ID. And talking to the mainframe coders here, they're all stubbornly sticking to their guns that this is fine. I don't think. Let's have a look. No. I I think someone got a little carried away with misunderstanding database practices. Okay. What was I going to ask? I was going to ask. Let's ask Claude. Yeah. I mean, okay. Yeah. Using a timestamp as a primary key is possible, but generally not recommended in production systems. Here's the main problems you'd encounter: collision, performance, clustering and indexing inefficiency becomes a major issue. Most databases typically physically order data by the primary key. With timestamps, you're always inserting at the end of the table, which can create hotspots and reduce performance. Additionally, if you need to query by other fields frequently, you'll need an additional indexes since your primary key won't help with non-temporal queries. Concurrency challenges in multi-server environments, clock synchronization becomes critical. Yeah, yeah. Wow. But if you're working on a mainframe, you don't have that worry because you've got one single. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I wanted to understand if there was any use cases that was completely missing there. Yes. Yeah. Wow. That's quite the I am sorry for you. That is I've I've seen a lot of disasters with databases over the years, but I've not seen that Oh, like I have throwaway IDs in things. Um, but yeah, oh, interesting. Sorry, just slightly distracted by I didn't put. Okay, it creates an ID automatically. You got auto modded. Oh no. Oh, it thought bullying. Um, no. When I confront them with it, I am told that normalization is school learning and that it's not how anyone does it in the real world because it makes the database unreadable. Where I try and tell them if you normalize, your Cayman eyes will never have to look at the actual tables. That's school. That's that's no. So I've been trying to figure out how to put something in words for a few um, months now. Um, I've had um, uh, obviously I'm trying to build Liquid Sky in a way that allows me to adapt it and to change it. And a lot of developers don't see the benefits of doing a system such as this because it's a lot of moving parts. But then I look at some of the systems I've been a part of, and I look at the challenges that were faced and the problems that were faced in tackling, data, in tackling logic, in creating big methods, etc. And I think the way that I'm writing this code base actually is conducive to a lot of those patterns of smaller code files, more focused code files, less relations required, less data required overall because the data is distributed across multiple components. It is relevant to where it is. Now, obviously, I haven't grown this platform to be the size of an actual enterprise organization. So I know that, and I've just acknowledged at the beginning of the stream, there's challenges still to come. But I really do feel, and I don't know how to put it quite into words properly, but I do feel that a lot of the challenges that we face with bad design, with massive code files, etc., massive code files are oftentimes a result of this we have to tackle everything in one place mentality, and it kind of means that we can't see smaller code files because we can't break things up cleanly. So I'm trying to figure out how to put that more productively and more succinctly, but that's kind of where I'm going in terms of I think we can help ourselves if we just break things down a little bit more. So the normalization, I would argue, is there because normalizing the database is can actually be helpful and performant because you don't always need everything. The assembly module that issues timestamps suddenly started over half a year ago, so all their IDs and therefore also their dates of creation suddenly happened in 1993. Oh, it restarted, you mean? That's horrendous. It rolled back because it ran out of dates. it ran out of dates. Like, up the end of time. Sorry. We must start again. That's horrible. And do you remember? Yeah. I think that we assume that. Why can't I get into my. There you go. We assume that because a company earns a ton of money, that their software is going to be better than the company that is just getting by. Sorry, that was loud. But it's not always the case. Hackery happens at every level. Developers, human beings do not change, right? Not just developers. We need to get this done quickly. Oh, I can get that done quickly for you, right? We don't change. And this goes into one of the things that OneLine has really been kind of starting to talk about a lot more, is this like standards and professionalism that we need to, and I've said it before, right? We do need to be more professional. As a group, we need to be more responsible for the software we write in general. Just being able to say, no, this is not acceptable. We can't do that. Morning, Frank. Assumption is bad. Yeah, assumption is very bad. Canny, hello. It's not like fintech. Won't say in a high tech car. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Because human beings. Not all developers are the same. Not all developers are willing to put more effort in, right? It's the truth of it. So yeah, I think it would be nice if we could figure out some way of kind of organizing so that we do have more accountability, but also clear understanding of what it is to be a developer. Because I don't think, especially in today's world with all the options we have available, I don't think we have the luxury of saying, you know, we're not just tools sat at the keyboard, right? Sorry, I'm putting my, as I'm talking, I'm trying to put my vitamins and stuff out so that I can take them and don't forget about them. I'm also trying the architects here at the moment because the company wants to do microservices and cloud solutions. That's the answer to everything, by the way. And we are already running containerized applications that use REST. But I am now facing, but they don't understand that cloud means that you spend more resources in exchange for availability and resilience. But they still say that it's stupid to call a REST endpoint with an address parameter that identifies the resource. We can just make a post. The more you see into the tech of the different branches, the more you want to come back to non-tech stuff, random opinion. So if I'm being honest, the more I see of this stuff, the more I see of other developers, the more I want basically I want to build my own company, and I want to assemble the team of Avengers basically, and just take the people that I see on a daily basis just being awesome and being productive and give them the chance to build good software. Like, because there's a lot of people that are in positions of control over software that are still of that mindset that just, you know, let's just get stuff done, or complete misinterpretation of the way things are. So yeah. And to that, I have these architects. If you send me 5 of these, one of them you can read, one of them exists but you can't read, one of them doesn't exist, and one of them is formatted wrong. What response do I give? 200, 403, 404, 400? Well, I'm gonna bet you get a 200 back with a message in it that says error with a list of IDs that couldn't be done. And I wish I was saying that just because I'm randomly being quirky rather than I've seen that done. Yeah. So you get, oh, so you get, you have to then figure out which ones couldn't be done. Okay. Nice. I was close though. Dear. Okay. So 400. My monitoring is pointless. Yep. Yep, return no errors. I think Milan posted something yesterday about was it I should just have Milan channel up all the time. Um Jovanovic. I think he posted yesterday, was it? Posts. No, easy way to start CQRS, where to place authorization. Here we go. He goes around in cycles. I know that he reposts some things. But you'll appreciate that one. Sorry. Well, sympathy you have. All you can do though is your best. And when you're in a position of control over software, you can make better decisions. These are, you know, software that works shouldn't be the only bar we set, right? And that's a continual problem. So take that experience, share the war stories in 20 years, but learn from that and do better. And sometimes what you will find is you'll hit a point in your career, or you'll hit a point in software you're writing, that you think, oh, I understand how that decision could be made now, and here's why I won't make that decision now, but I can understand why it would have been beneficial, right? Sometimes you'll get that reflection moment to realize why that person probably made a decision that way. Not often, but you will do. But the experience builds you, right? And that's why this is good. This is why Twitch is good. There's a development community that can have conversations and share what they do and chat back and forth over these things. So it's useful. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Okay, so with that said, I've been an educated software. Why did that not show on the prompter? I've been an educated software developer for a single year, and I'm fighting people with 20 years of experience in higher educations, and I'm very open to being wrong, but their arguments are just terrible. Time and time does not equal ability, and from my own experience, education doesn't necessarily mean ability either. Unfortunately, time and knowledge of the domain will often give the appearance of ability, and yeah, and they're going to look at you, and this is why I'm not a big fan of using the junior developer label, or senior developer necessarily. Because I think that I will take someone who's been doing it a year and is passionate and engaged with doing better things than someone who has been doing it 15, 20 years and is just stuck in their ways and doesn't want to move beyond, because they'll write better software that's more relevant. They might not write perfect software. You might have to fix some things and correct some things, but they'll engage more and learn more and grow more from it. So I don't know. It's my dream to work on a team that has a bunch of really driven people building good software and aiming for a good product. I've worked on teams that have been driven, but not worked on a product that has enough direction. I've been in multiple environments at this point. So an endpoint that cancels a payment, it returns 200 or 204 depending on what type of payment you cancelled. And both responses are empty. Why not a 200 with a line in there that says what type you cancelled? Why do you care about what type you cancelled? Why not just say you cancelled it? You're cancelling the payment. You should know what type you're cancelling. What does it matter to the caller? You shouldn't just be cancelling payments, be like, what type did I cancel, by the way? Like, what does it matter? You don't care. That suggests that they're using that for UI on the other side to say something like, oh, you cancelled your whatever payment, or you cancelled your whatever payment. Yeah. These are, yeah. It is, by the way, it is exactly why I try to keep, like, my UI project is independent of my actual code project. I have that mental separation, and it helps me, right? It prevents, it gives me a pause for when I'm returning data, why I'm returning it. I shouldn't be building something specific for the client. I should be returning data for the API, and the client is the client is the client. It doesn't matter. I don't care about who I'm telling the result of something. Like when I create something, I return the ID, right? And again, with review, maybe you and I sit down and go through this, and you say, oh, I don't like the way this is happening. And we say, well, hold on, why should we do it differently? How could we do it differently? Oh, yeah, actually, that's a better pattern. Let's change it, right? So here, when I post, I send back the identifier, and it is actually a common object at this point. I should make it a common object. But basically, if you create something, it says, yep, we're good, okay, and here's the ID. That's the pattern. That's about it. I don't care how you're using it. I don't care whether you care about it. You save the thing. That's fine. So, yeah. So, if you're new to the stream, this is Liquid Sky, or rather, this is Liquid Sky. This is my project management and planning application that I've been working on for the past, it's getting on for 2 years now, right? it's 7, 9, about, yeah, 20 months. What I'm currently doing is working on actually being able to tell people how they or not rather tell people. So a user is able to subscribe to changes on an object, and they are my focus is terrible today, apparently. As a product manager, as a CEO, as a management level person, I might want to understand when things are changing in the system, like when progress is being made on stuff, and the ability to be able to refine that and configure when and how you want to be notified is useful. So what I'm focused on right now is this ability to say, okay, well, I want to say, when the status of this object changes, that's why I'm starting with status. When that changes, let me know and send me an email, right? So I can know the status of an object changed. So if it's of an entity changed. So if I care about this particular planning item, I should be able to say, tell me when that thing changes, and send me an email. And that's what we're trying to do. So to do that, and I'll just read your comments before, we have so many endpoints that are made specifically for BFF or front end, and it's so ingrained here that it's how it should be that I spent the last 3 months explaining to my colleagues that we just make our data available, and it's up to others how they want to use it. I'll stop now and get some work done. No worries, George. Yeah, the BFF thing. Yeah, I'm not sure I understand. I've looked at it multiple times. I've looked at different things, and I'm like, I'm not sure I fully engage with the idea of it. I understand the concepts. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure I'm all on board with doing it. And yeah, so shout outs, Canny. Canny is a game dev and tinkerer who has built an amazing library for Godot. If you are a Twitch streamer who uses Godot, look at Twitcher. It will change your life. Uh, as a If you want to put overlays and stuff in your stream, um, even if you're not a game dev, I suppose at this point, Canny, just being able to use Godot to create overlays and stuff, you could do some amazing things, right? Um, so yeah, highly worth checking out. And Frank is a cloud engineer. Streams on Fridays normally, and works on his 2D6 game and other projects. He's a talented .NET developer and a very knowledgeable cloud engineer. So again, both amazing streams to go and hang out in. I do actually have something I want your opinion on. Not bitter on this one, just genuinely curious. Sure, absolutely. I always happy to share an opinion. And anyone watching, if you do have any questions, if you want to talk about anything like related to tech, you're more than welcome to ask questions. If you care about any of the technologies I'm using, if you want to get involved here, you're more than welcome to as well. It is a perfectly open stream for that purpose. Getting the software done is useful, but being able to talk about stuff is also a necessary part. So while George is asking that question, so yesterday I got the communications storage. So what we're focused on here is when I get those details. So this diff that I'm talking about here is a calculation of what changed between two versions of my object. It's a snapshot comparison, right? Not that one. That's not a snapshot comparison. This is a snapshot comparison. So the concept is, helps if I show the right thing, that you show that it produces a feed of, here's what changed, by the way. A new senior dev suggested that we should use the final keyword on method arguments to show that objects passed as arguments should not be altered. Mind you, the final keyword doesn't actually prevent it, but is a signal value of it. I reveal right away that I don't agree with it, but still curious to your opinion. Wait, we're all live at the same time. I only have this window, Stony. I cannot pick a different window, I'm afraid. Everyone else should change. So, sorry. Um, um, signaling intent can be useful. If you don't, if it doesn't actually enforce what you're trying to enforce it, um, I mean, you shouldn't, if you want an entertaining stream that's full of randomness right this second, haptic feedback suits. Yeah, maybe it's also a good stream to go check out. Talented developer, but a great community and a great chat as well. So anyway, final. If it doesn't even enforce the thing that you're trying to do, it could lull a developer into a false sense of security. Right? So I would probably say no, don't use it, because if it doesn't enforce it, it's going to make people think that it can't possibly happen. And yeah, ads, by the way. Not many of you are struck by them, but it does affect others. And yeah, if you're not following Stony already, go and watch No Mercy get developed. Is a great stream to be in, and Stony is a great developer building an awesome product that I highly recommend checking out. The reasons I don't agree is that it should be standard that you don't mutate objects in the method. Also, it adds a bunch of cluttering basically all method signatures, and it only signals to people that actually understand the point. It's like having a speed limit sign every 10 feet. The people who know the speed limit are still going to do that speed, and the people who don't understand the signs won't understand any better because of more signs. Yeah. I think, yeah, if it adds visual clutter with no actual value around the thing it's intending to enforce, then it's not as effective as it needs to be. Good standards will cover that anyway. And if anything, seeing the final keyword in a PR, if someone sees a final keyword and assumes that wasn't done because they see final, that's going to be more dangerous, because when it does happen, you'll be searching for bugs. You know, so you'd be better off validating that patterns don't appear in the methods, right? Basically, every method signature that takes an object as a parameter will have a final keyword in front of it. Yeah. So in .NET, if you pass an object, it's by reference, right? So you can change the values inside of it. And if you pass it by ref, you can change the entire object, right? So I also argue that you can't just do this as you go, since then the signaling is ambiguous and you have to alter the code. You can't just do this as you go, since then the signaling is ambiguous. You have to alter all the code. Repo. You can. Yeah. Yeah, it's not. Like, I get the intent. I appreciate the fact that it's, to me, that sounds more like there's a problem of people doing that, in which case that might be a case of sit down with the developers and talk about practices and standards, rather than trying to put a thing in there that prevents that but doesn't prevent it. It just kind of signals that you don't want it. It's probably better to have a conversation and get your standards in line, rather than trying to do something passively. Also, if you use other tools, maybe if you use something like Sonar Cloud or something, then maybe you could actually have it set up to tell you if that occurs. So you can actually have scans that tell someone a PR. This happened, by the way, if you're really worried about other developers doing it. So changes, this is here. So this changes feed is here. This is the diff, right? This says, okay, well, this was previously this, it's now this, let's go. And then I'm using that diff in two ways. The first way, the notifications way, is over here. And these might get grouped under a single folder ultimately, as separate pieces. But over here, this receives that change and says, oh, it's a planning item, let's worry about this. I've got to figure out how to clean this up as well, this bugs me. And it says, okay, well, is anyone subscribed? So did anyone set these parameters and cares about being notified that this thing changed? And if they do, then I'm going to publish a notification. Similarly, the pipelines, as I've called it right this second, receives that same event, that change event, and says, okay, let's go figure out how to enrich this data, because you might have changed a GUID to another GUID as far as the diff is concerned, but then that stream of details needs to happen so that we don't have to copy all the data around the entire system all the time, right? So yeah. In .NET, if you assign a new object to an object passed into the method, when the method ends, the original object will remain. It is only when you change the value in the objects field that yes. To my understanding, it is because when you assign to the values, you overwrite stack memory, but you still maintain the pointer to the original object's heap address. Underlying, yeah, I do not often get into the weeds there. I do know that if I pass it by ref, I can change it, but by explicitly, I can change the values of it, right? So it is a dangerous thing to have happen. But as far as I know, there's no mechanism in .NET to avoid that. I'm of the opinion that you kind of get in those weeds when you need to get in those weeds to understand them. Oftentimes it's just practice that I just don't do certain things. Dota, good morning. How are you doing? So if you are watching on YouTube, welcome in. If you are watching on YouTube, if you are enjoying the content, if you have any questions as well, you're more than welcome to ask. It will come up in the stream, just the same way. But obviously, if you're YouTube respects those likes and subscribe. So if you are interested in this sort of content, this is episode number 222 of working on this project. You are there's a lot more to watch, so please feel free. You actually helped me understand a lot of things better that I sort of accepted and pseudo understood before. Now I have a much fuller understanding of. Yeah. In a better mood, made it to the gym. Nice. Congrats on getting to the gym. Okay, so this detail stream comes in here. So what I got working yesterday was in the communications component, I now store that information. So the receiver's here for detailed change event receiver. This now goes and stores that detailed change. And we can see that here. So the change activity record is the header. So this is the object identifier that we changed. When it occurred, the event that this change came from. So obviously there's a trace back to the notification, the user email, the user identifier, and the username of the person that actually made the change, right? So this is helpful information. We don't want to have to go and look that up. That's what I'm trying to avoid here. And then the details, here's what actually changed. You can see these objects. This is where it's enriched the data. And then the status and the date times. So we have the actual fields, right? So what I'm going to figure out now is how in the heck I'm going to use that. So we have a consumer, or we will need a consumer for now consuming the notification command. But I have I have to figure out what this looks like, because sending an email is relatively simple, and I don't know how to draw this out. This says, yes, you need to notify this user, right? And it has the event, this change event ID on it. Say, this is what's triggered this notification. If this data is in this communications layer before this data, before this event occurs, awesome. We can just turn around and say, yep, send an email. But if this hits and this hasn't hit yet, hasn't been consumed for whatever reason, system's busy, whatever, what do we do? This is where I kind of go into the saga pattern. Now, initially, what I decided is that I would check to see if I have the information. If I do, send it. If I don't, create the saga. But I'm not sure that's necessarily the right thing to do. It's kind of a chicken and egg problem, right? Ow. Wee. I just almost tipped my coffee over. That would have been terrible. Sagaban. Woohoo. My old Microsoft teacher perks up whenever someone in the world uses the word Sagaban. So, wait till you see the implementation before you actually get too excited. No, I don't disagree with. So, teachers. I didn't have any of them. Mediator.saga. Oh, funny story about this. So the other day, you saw me go through the effort of trying to. I love how this is happening. Trying to deploy a necessary update for this. So what NuGet did is they emailed me and said, this library has a flaw in it, you need to fix it, right? They actually removed the package. I published this new version. I got an email today. Sorry, we shouldn't have removed the package. We put it back. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, okay. That was done in error, removing it. So this library, which is one of the open source pieces of this project, is my attempt at creating Mediator with notification events. So right now this doesn't do very much, right? Because this isn't triggering domain events. This isn't actually, this wasn't actually an entity. It's not producing any domain, which I will have to make it produce to do what I want it to do, I think, or I'll have to produce a notification myself. I can still do that. But the concept here is these mediator sagas are code-genned, and basically they align notifications in Mediator. So as I publish domain events, again 2 years ago, I will create these things. I will store the object, and where are you? Resources, here you go. So ultimately it will create a handler for that notification event that will retrieve the saga. If the saga's complete after it's handled it, it will then say, do I publish an event or do I just delete the saga and clean itself up, right? So the concept is that it will start and then continually receive events of that nature based upon the orchestration identifier. So what I'm trying to do there is I'm just trying to create this pattern of I can define the saga and have everything wired up nice and neatly. It's not perfect. It's going to have some issues. I'm going to have, as this project grows in its complexity, as it grows in its abilities, it's going to hit scaling issues. It's going to hit concurrency issues. I know these things will happen, but that is that. Side repo. Nice. Thank you. And as I go through this process, by the way, it is an always open offer that if you see things that would be useful as a library in their own thing, you can call that out, and I will consider building out a library of the behavior to make that more helpful. The Kafka stuff is all open source. The library I use for distributing the messages and stuff is all open source. The mediator sagas is a project that is open source. The mediator extensions to give me the kind of domain notifications that I'm getting, that's all open source. I love how you say something like start your repo, and then you turn around and say, I'm thinking my bar's too low for start. Like, I shouldn't really start it. I even started the crazy tech entrepreneurs AI solution that's taking over the world. Like, here's a compliment. Take it away. Ah, dear. So yeah, we got to figure out the sagas at this point. I think I've got to try and do this. Um, no worries. Um, so let's go and get uh, uh, Apex. Good morning. Was on what we call Datamatica, which is only a two. Got you. It's about education stuff. So, we need to go and figure out if those actual NuGet packages published. So yeah, Liquid Sky. Right now, recording change details, create receivers library and configure create receiver for change details, record the change details. We've done this piece, so that piece is done. Record notification, subscription, and communications. This piece we kind of need now. And if you're, like, again, I title the streams differently based upon YouTube and Twitch. YouTube has different metrics of how it's going to show people the stream. Twitch, it's in the feed. You can see it. If you want to join, you can do. Right. So it's fed differently. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you do have questions about some of the technologies I've talked about, feel free to ask. I am kind of going over the pieces that are using all those things, but I don't want to. It's not a it's not a bait and switch stream, or a what's the word? What's the word? The title. Clickbait. Yeah. Nature had 2 hours. Yeah, terrible programmers exist regardless of ability. Just where your passion lies. So what we need to do now, what I'm thinking we need to do is I've got to figure out how to align these things. So the consumers, when you see consumers in my code, that is a RabbitMQ or mass transit consumer. I'm putting mass transit around RabbitMQ. It receives it the same way, right? So it's a consumer here. When you see receivers, that is a Kafka consumer wrapped in a library of my creating to try and receive those events. And the only reason I use receivers here and consumers there is so I don't have Kafka and mass transit consumers all in the same library. I don't want to merge the two things. They are both consumers. I just label one as receivers because it's an abstraction around consumer for the sake of readability. So here, this is a Kafka receiver. This detailed change event is here, right? So this is this receiver. And now this consumer over here, we're going to need to build for the, hey, go off and do this thing, right? So if we go to here and we open a new tab. Oh, did I do the thing again? Did someone just take our roof? Wow, my pool guys just took my recycles out for me. That's awesome. Sorry, just completely distracted. So anyway, so when I which one's this one on? This is on this is Kafka. So many services. 15, 6, 7, 2, yeah. So when I go to here, And yes, I'm using default credentials. It's local development machine. I do not need to worry about security at that level. I have this planning item updated. The order create is a different topic. Send user inbox. So send user inbox, or where's it gone? Does it really do that transient? Apparently it is. It's very transient in this case, because I haven't created the actual thing. But either way, again, trying to learn about the technologies more as you use them, understand how to use them. Realistically, what I'm using mass transit. So mass transit is abstracting a lot of the behavior of RabbitMQ specifically. So I don't need to really worry about these things. But it is worthwhile understanding. So what's happened there is that those events are kind of I can't think of the word. But ultimately, the goal would be that a message would appear in here, and that's what I'm going to consume. There's the sunlight again. I suppose I shouldn't complain about having sunlight. It is kind of nice. So yeah, this consumer we will need to build to consume this message. But what I need to figure out first is, what am I going to use here? So I need to coordinate two things happening. So this side is actually a command. This is not intended as an event. It is a command. Yes, they are consumed the same way, but they are ultimately they're consumed the same way. But in this instance, I am actually intending for this to go to one point specifically, right? So it is a command here and an event here. And an event in a loose word is more, here's something that occurred, here's the data for the thing that occurred, so you deal with how you want to understand it, right? So again, event sounds more deliberate, like clicked a button, did a thing. This is all changes, right? That's triggering this. But again, like I said earlier on, some of this I don't want to go off and try and plan too far ahead. So I'm going to kind of evolve the design as I need to, because this pattern doesn't exist yet in this system. So if I create a saga based around the event ID, right? So in this instance, so my change activity, this event ID, right? So this event ID will get sent when I send the notification, right? So when I go to the notification application, processing changes, process planning item change, do I need to, is anyone subscribed to this thing based upon the parameters, right? Then send that event, and there's the event identifier, right? So that would be the correlating or the coordinating event ID. But what if one piece of data got there before the other? Right? What if this detail is here when I get that event? Right? So the detail hits, it's stored in the database. This event happens. There's never going to be an event here. So I need to create, if I use a saga, either one of these can start the saga and either one of these can finish the saga. That's the concept. So a saga is normally used for a long-running process, or a process of indeterminate amount of time. What this would give me would be the ability to say, okay, well, they both start the saga, and both can complete the saga, basically. And is that sufficient? Would that work? I mean, things like what happens if they hit at the same time, what happens if, they don't fire, what happens if I create, because doing it this way, I don't know if there's a notification for this event. That's one of the challenges, right? So in the case of a um, uh, a daily email, summary email, what is my correlation, right? What am I actually doing? Is it the subscription, the notification subscription that is determining what type of saga I create? Like these questions are all running through my head, and I'm not quite sure how to align them properly. I'm not even sure how to draw them properly. That's the that's the big challenge here. So in this instance where I have these details and I have this notification, I have an event ID. In the case of a non-real time, right? So a summary, notification. Hey, Phil Shamble, how you doing? Right. So that's X days, months, etc. It could be, you want a monthly email. It could be, the schedule for that is indeterminate, right? This process doesn't necessarily change, and I'm going to figure out how to draw the saga down here. That's why I've just copied that over. But the event ID is not the correlating ID that it once was, right? The notification ID becomes the correlating ID. And when a new event occurs or a time elapses, which might actually, we need to put into the sagas the concept of a time elapse, right? Then it will trigger. So the way we'd use the saga there would be, I might have to just focus my energy for today on that part, because that might be the most productive thing, to create a time-based trigger. So right now there's no service monitoring the sagas. It's all event driven. So as an event happens, like I am started by, I publish. And for reference, by the way, I do understand that sagas are represented as a pattern in mass transit and RabbitMQ. I want to make sure that that is clear. I do understand that sagas are supported by mass transit. I am not using mass transit for everything in this process, though, right? I'm in my component, my subdomain, essentially, right? So I'm in the communications subdomain. I'm not within the larger system. So these are not all triggered events from within mass transit and RabbitMQ, which gives me, I need to offload to my local process and handle those things. My pool guys are awesome. So yeah, mass transit. Yes, if I was doing, and if anyone hasn't seen this before, it should be kind of normal at this point. If I was doing events based upon multiple things occurring across these bounded contexts, I gotta be careful about going into the DDD terminology. Yeah. But either way, if I was producing events from each of these things using mass transit, which ultimately will happen, then sagas at that level would make more sense. However, I'm in just this component here, and I'm combining events from multiple things, so I don't have that luxury, and I don't want to make it happen that way. So let's go and look at how we might do a timed saga. So the way that the saga works is you kind of define a saga, right? So you say, okay, here's my saga. It's a saga of sample saga state. So you give it the state object that's going to carry, and you start it with the orchestration identifier, right? It will then, actually, that's not correct. Sorry, my brain is off on figuring out what I'm missing here. So I built this library 2 years ago to solve a specific pattern, and it might not be suitable fully for what the case I'm dealing with right this second is. Mainly this event here. So the concept is basically, you can start or handle events. What I was thinking there as I was talking was, well, hold on, I am started by means that I need to register this as an available saga, and the presence of this event will trigger creation of that new saga, right? So if we actually look at the saga code, so a saga just looks like this, right? It's a, wow, that's become a thing more. A saga has state, and it has a complete state and whatnot, right? It's not a full state machine as sagas kind of are. I've got to get to that point. I'm going to grow this out. But the ultimate idea is that I am able to create this thing. And where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? It's fine. I think this is maybe where I was missing the thing. Manets, hello. How you doing? Okay, that's the difference. Okay, so right now this code is no different. I think this is where I probably left it. Working? Am I working? Not right now. Ah, you are. Oh, gotcha. Oof. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so it will create it. So the difference is, yeah. Okay. I am started by. Yes. Okay. Got it. I have it. I did have it working. Okay. So this code is code gen. So the idea being that when I generate a saga, right, this notification will start it, and I handle, right, it can handle other notifications. So here we go. Here we go. So you can handle these things. This saga wouldn't actually work because nothing would create the saga which is my problem there. So the idea is the persistence layer. That's what, again, trying to get myself back into this. Did I create persistence? Yeah, a saga persistence. So the persistence component is going to do, fetch the saga if it exists by its coordinating identifier. Maybe. Hello. Ivanhoe, hello. And whoa, Stony, hello. Soadev, hello. Did you say hello earlier on, Sola? You're not in that raid, so you did you just join? Guess what? What? Got all those. Hi, Barry. Me too. This is a place to come for some epic Lua programming on a toaster. You've been missold. I just got a renewal. I'm back. Nice. Nice. Congrats. For some reason you gaslit him into believing he knows what you're doing. I trust everything maybe tells me. Yeah, I would do too. Yeah, it's only another month, but it changes everything. Another month is another month is better than finishing in 2 weeks, right? So that's awesome. Congrats. Moves you further forward. Why is there a white line on my cam? It's the sunlight down my face. My blinds are sat right there. I need to move my desk. I need to just stop it and move my desk at this point. We'll see if we can get it out of my face. Hello there. What are you building? Hi, Blue Yeti. Welcome in. I am building. Yeah, sunlight. I'm working on my project management application. So this is Liquid Sky. This is my I don't know quite now how to describe it right now, but it's my take on how I would like to deal with project management in terms of requirements and planning and in terms of development. So nope, no Blazor. This is all Angular. So I have an Angular front end and I have a .NET backend. This is what it looks like underneath. At this point, I don't think. I mean, I know that was a joke. I think it's more my opinions on, how the flow is. Oh, very cool. Angular plus .NET backend is my usual stack too. Nice. Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of Blazor. I don't. It doesn't kind of fit right in my head. It's a very effective tool set, and I do not discourage use of it. I think it is something that every .NET developer especially should, if they're building front ends and it's not there, then they should definitely check out Blazor. But it doesn't really fit for me. Yeah, I'm very deliberately here keeping my front end a separate component of the major system. So it was a deliberate choice here. That's HANA 3.0. So the general concept of Liquid Sky is that product management and planning can happen without it looking like work to be done. So the requirements get put in there. You're identifying what it is you want to see. You can break these down in as small or as large as you want. And the goal would be that once you're ready to get the developers to look over these requirements, etc., they go and look and they task out the actual work, and they task it. They can break it down however they want, and they assign it to a team, and that team is ultimately going to be filtered by the projects that this planning item is associated with. So it's just a set of filters. When you set up a planning item, you kind of give it a goal. That's it. What is the actual goal of this planning item? And then it kind of can progress through. The review date is an internal date that is just helping the product management organize and track this stuff so that they can say, okay, this one we can wait for 6 months on and stuff, right? So the other management teams can also look at the priority of, you know, where work is currently sat. And you can also see the progress. The intent is that basically this will also have a Kanban board, and it will show you where all the things lie in terms of progress, you know, status, etc. Yeah, I get it. JS and TypeScript is still a top choice for every front end, and WASM and Blazor haven't quite caught on yet, so it makes sense to feel more comfortable with that. For me, it's productivity. So yeah. Blocking and blocked by support. I'm mind blown by how few platforms make that easy. So right now, this is very much the project management tool, and ultimately, I don't consider this a developer tool. Like, we are not the target audience of this product. The target audience is the product management. So again, trying to split. Trying to split. These pieces away from each other so the actual work to be done is visible and doesn't have the constraint of being neatly fit inside of some story. So that's that. And if anyone does have any questions, thoughts, or opinions, good or bad, I can take some bad opinions as well. Well, not bad opinions that are contradictory. I have a question, but I need to go for a walk. Should go for a walk. Get the walking. You can ask questions anytime. You're fine. Even if they're trolling. That's a bad opinion. Ask the question first. So right now these are deliberately identical. So what I'm trying to figure out right this second is because of the nature of this system, because of the way I'm building it, you know, who owns what and who knows about what when is a challenge. It will always be a challenge, and I'm kind of laying down the first implementation of this in terms of I have changes. Changes are calculated over here. They're not calculated at the time these objects change because there might be greater context required, and also I might store internal data, and then I have to worry about figuring out, you know, which fields I'm publishing, etc. So I deal with changes externally. Also allows me to get higher throughput on these items. The first focus is save the data the user provided. So yeah, so changes, people waking up. So changes are calculated externally and produced as a feed of data. So a lot of Kafka involved here, and then notifications we just worked on recently. So now basically this piece will say, oh, is anyone subscribed to this? And if they are, let's notify them, by the way, a change occurred. So what I'm going through right this second is this figuring out of how do I align these two events. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use a Saga, and the Saga is going to be built in Mediator, because it is a tool that is available to me, and I have written a library. I'm not going to use a Saga in Mass Transit because I have some things coming from Kafka and some things coming from Mass Transit, and that is deliberate. I'm using Kafka for more data distribution. I'm using it for state transfer or state-based transfer, whatever it's referred to as. Basically, it's here's the object. Each system has to figure out what it needs from that object, if it needs it at all. So I can pick and choose. I can grow the system. I can build new systems off of the data, off the data. I'm very British there. off of the data without without care of other components. However, when I'm sending a notification, I'm being deliberate about that notification, and I'm sending that via mass transit and RabbitMQ service bus. That is a very deliberate design, if an overly complicated one for some people, right? So as a solo dev, I would not recommend doing something like this. This is taking me the better part of 2 years at this point to get to this point, and I'm now finally getting into the actual complicated pieces. However, that being said, once this piece is working and the data is flowing correctly, I feel that it will accelerate my ability to tell people, or to provide those functionalities of, hey, I care about this changing. Let me know when it changes. I care about the status changing. I care about the name changing. I care about whatever changing. You can subscribe to it and be notified of any or all changes when you choose. There is also a backend system as well, Control Tower, which will ultimately manage subscriptions and things like that, which is built using Next.js because, why not? This was built by Mojo. You're working on Linux. No, this is all Windows. Coming towards the end of summer, I I just got a second Zowie box for this reason. I will have the option for the stream to be switched to Mac or Linux and Windows interchangeably, so we can actually demonstrate the workflow changing between the devices, between the platforms. This is all running right now. This is running on a Kubernetes box. I say box, mini PC running Kubernetes. Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff in here. There's a lot of lessons I've learned along the way, and it's why I stream it. If you are interested in this stuff. So what I'm trying to do now is figure out where I was with my Saga library. So the idea here is I can create actually when a single handle is and single is I never created a test case for this one. I need a started by, don't I? Yeah. Oh, hold on. It does not exist. Yeah. Okay, so we receive it. So basically this is code gen. The idea being that all I have to do is create the Saga and the handlers for the notifications, right? Or define the Saga. These become the handlers, and then what happens is the code gen will produce, based upon these, the actual code to retrieve the Saga, pull back the state of the Saga, and then push it forward. So my thought here is, in this flow, I will publish a notification. I'll publish a mediated domain event to say this thing occurred. I will generate a Saga when I start up, and it will start by either of these two, and it will then consume the event and the thing, and then it will produce the email. It will produce an event that says send an email notification. In this instance, I need to put a timer on it, and the Saga will be started by the first event that occurs. And I'll have to have a timed a monitor of the Sagas. So do I even worry about that right now, or do I test the first? I think I test the first version. Again, if you are watching on YouTube, please do not forget to drop that like button. The like button helps promote the stream to other people watching, and it does help me with getting more of this content out there. There are also videos on the YouTube channel that I have produced, and I do intend to create some more over the coming months on such topics that I'm dealing with right now. So if there's anything of interest, I greatly appreciate the comments and any interaction there. YouTube is a hard platform to break for viewership, for discovery. So every like definitely helps there. If you're liking the content, if you're not, I apologize. So I think what I need to do is prioritize this flow. So ultimately, how do I represent this difference now? So it's the difference is in the difference is in here, right? So the difference is, let me do how I use computers. And thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. Let's do it this way. Right. So we're going to create a saga. I'm not very good at charting, by the way. It's not my happy place. Saga. And then so that would be the main event. The main event. And then they would both be capable of starting a saga. The orchestration ID would be the event ID, right, in this case. And is complete is determined by both handlers. Like, do I have the information I need? If I don't, then I'm going to wait. And if the other one then whichever one gets there second is going to check to see is this notification ready? Yes, it is. Okay. So this is going to kind of flag an internal state of should notify, basically. See your diagram going to show too. I think better if I'm putting images out there. I'm not necessarily good at diagramming, but it helps me. It definitely helps me think. I don't like long descriptions and stuff. Do not help me. So I like pictures for certain. My preference would be code. I would rather be writing this, but I'm also trying to make sure that I can relay these things a little bit more verbally. So this domain event fires, this domain event fires, and what that's going to fire is another domain event, which I've got bots for. Don't be wasteful, right? That's the complete domain event. How do you typically handle provisioning and deployments of personal projects? I've yet to really dive into CI/CD. Mostly stuck with things like Laravel, Forge, or Vercel in the past, but would like to transition into something more transferable skills. So in this project alone, I have created a Pulumi deployment. Again, there's a lot of stuff here. So Pulumi gives me the ability to script out all this. So my infrastructure components for console, gateway, Kafka, OpenTelemetry, RabbitMQ, SQL Server, Mongo, etc., Redis, etc. are there. And this allows me to build out this is basically Helm charts. So using Kubernetes is definitely, usable. These ultimately break down as Helm charts, but it's a code-driven approach. So this is Pulumi. I know that what's it called is more popular. Terraform. Yes, Terraform is another. I didn't like the syntax of Terraform. That's provided by those tools. So yeah. To be honest, .NET Aspire is heading down this path. I know you just mentioned PHP, so I'm going to assume that's your world. But if you're in .NET world, .NET Aspire, and we had one of their devs in here not too long ago helping with some of this stuff. So .NET Aspire allows me to configure all this stuff. So when I run this locally, right, Aspire will produce, he says, like I still have Kubernetes there. That's not really a thing. Unfortunately, this system is 17 services, not including things like databases, etc. It is the distributed nature of it does mean sometimes it's a little bit harder to handle. Why did you go to that one? This suggests it's going to error. Aspire's going on what path? The deployment thing. The ability to actually deploy and infrastructure as code stuff. Yeah. So using containers, so not using Ansible or anything. No, not right now. No, I haven't really looked at Ansible. Yeah, IAC. That's the right term. Thank you, Blue Yeti. Aspire is heading down that path, and we had why are you starting continuous testing? That's interesting. We had Mitch, who's a team member on that group, join the stream the other month and basically kind of trying to help me get through some of this stuff. The Kubernetes deployment stuff for Aspire isn't quite there yet, but they do plan on proceeding with that, so that basically you can do this, so I can run this locally, right? So all these services are the things running. I can see my graph, I can see all the dependencies back and forth, and I can also look at structured logging and tracing in here. All right, to be improved soon. Aspire is pretty interesting in terms of the path it's heading down, but yeah, they're working on the Kubernetes thing, so I actually might be able to in the next 6 months or so be able to replace all my Pulumi stuff with that stuff, because it would be nice to have it all in one place. As much as I was against that initially, I'm not a big fan of having mono repos and having deployment and development merged together, but I think in this term, at this point, considering that path, I would consider it, especially considering some of the difficulties I've had with Pulumi. Because basically this infrastructure stuff, the last time I went to deploy, this infrastructure stuff was the challenge. It's because I brought the infrastructure down and the dev all at the same time, and everything got messed up. So yeah, headlamp. So all that you see here is this application here is, and that is loading, by the way. That is actually requesting data. When I click that, it's actually quicker on this box than it is on my local machine for dev. But yeah, once headlamp loads, I'll show that. So if I was to try to cloud deploy this, there would be a lot of changes necessary. I'd have to think about how things applied. I could put it all in Kubernetes, but that is not cheap, and I've looked at that option, and it would cost me an absolute fortune to host Liquid Sky in Kubernetes. But yeah, we have all the pods running. So all these pods are currently running on that little AMD mini PC. So it's a 88, no it's not, it's a 6900HX with 32 gig of memory. And it's running a SQL server, Redis, Kafka, AKHQ is running all the tools, API gateway, etc. So it's doing pretty well. I can see all logs and stuff in here. So yeah. One of the benefits of building this system is that I have been able to practice some almost real world tooling, right? This isn't a normal side project. Yeah. So yeah, ultimately, domain event, both started by. It will work that if it has the orchestration ID, that the Saga will retrieve. So whichever one starts first will do it. It can be started by both. It will produce a domain event, which will then go on to trigger the email push, right? So we should just extend this box. Come on. Come on. Yeah. So that's the goal. But, and this is why I'm going through it, this is why I'm talking through it, and again, anyone has opinions or thoughts or questions is more than welcome to join in. I'm going to start that saga every time I receive an event. But in this case, and this is why I'm trying to think this through, right? In this case, this will look slightly different. Because the orchestration ID won't be the event ID. It can't be the event ID, the source event ID, because it doesn't have any bearing on longer processes. What matters here is the notification ID. But I don't know the notification ID. I just know the event ID. So I suppose I still have to, I think, can I serve two purposes with the same saga? My concern is creating a saga always for this, but having it produce events, and then creating another saga that does the long-term version. Or is realistically the difference just when it marks it's complete? Because when I receive the notification, I have to look up the parameters of the communication to understand the difference. So it might just be one saga. It might not actually be different things. It can be started by both still. Oh. Does that work? So I'm trying to figure out how to avoid over-engineering. I'm trying to figure out how to take this further. So if we look at the Sagas library, and by the way, if you weren't here earlier on, the Sagas library that I'm building is open source. I do open source components to this application. Not everything, but I do. And I'm back. Welcome back, George. Mediator sagas. And then mediator sagas, again, because I am in a mediator world here, not in a mass transit or Kafka world. I could deal with it other ways, but a library to bring Saga pattern to mediator library. So so actually these might not be different, but how do I differentiate? So when I get if I see a Saga, I think I have to check to see if a communication exists for this entity. Tell me about it. I'm trying to I'm trying to fit all these little pieces in my head and trying to figure out um do I need to have multiple processes represented, or can I and did you not go on a walk? Go on your walk. Picking on me. Like I'd love to write some code, but I don't want to write code that is off path. Neither would. Ah, gotcha. So I apologize. Like, no, I don't apologize. This is a necessary part of development. It's not just. I had to listen to this whole diatribe from you. You didn't have to listen to anything. Go away. Thank you for the raid. Appreciate you. Mediator sagas. Mediator sagas, SQL Server. Okay, no, it didn't even update this. It removed it and put it back. Microsoft. This is a necessary component. I cannot just write code at this point. That's the sad part. I wanted to. I have written no code on 2 streams. Maybe what man. Thank you. Merlin Frank got one. Nice. Thank you. That's insane. Appreciate it. Well, that's insane. I promise I will get the dog cam sorted out. I'm planning. I will get a doggo cam. Wow, you've blown past the goal. Oh, thank you for the bit. I appreciate it. A sub goal. Wow, that is not something I expected. Gets the 1 month contract extension now is invincible. Yes, I plan to use the money from the crazily generous subscriptions donations this last month, this last week, to get a doggo cam sorted out. Oh, thanks for the bit. Appreciate it. Yeah, that is how the money will be used. I promise. Mainly, it will be sorted in trying to make the space available to make the camera work. Yeah. Let's not. So, okay. Add a sub goal on the stream for the doggo cam. You guys have blown past 40 subs. Like, I'm at 42 subs for the month. It's insane. Yeah. Hold on, Tails. Yeah. You get between everyone, like, yeah, there's more than enough there to to give me a bit of a boost on yeah. Yeah. So I promise I will invest. If we hit 50 subs, Doggo gets to roll in mud if we're rolling in These two do not need encouraging to roll in mud. Come here. Come here. What's this? Let's see. We'll do a reward of Doggo on cam for right. It's like, come here, Tails. Tails, what's this? Come here. Come here. I'm gonna scoop you, okay? I'll scoop you. Oh. There you go. Can we see Taylor? Oh, Taylor's giving kisses. Oh. Yeah. There we go. How's that? We'll deal with that for a Doggo and cam for right a second. Hello. You okay? You good girl? Huh? Doggo appreciates attention and reward. Well done, Ch Taylor does not like being scooped, by the way, so scoops for Taylor is not fun. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, okay, okay. There you go. Okay, I'll finish up. Hold on. There you go. You have a bit of peanut butter. There you go. Good girl. Good girl. Okay. Anyway. So, yes, I did not make much code progress today. However, I feel that I'm starting to get a good picture, and I wanted to be doing this, but in the same, I can't. If I rush into this, I'm going to make a big mess, and I know I am. I need to be mindful of the fact that these sagas will be triggered by events that other things will also then create or trigger. Actually, oh, do not run out. Do not. I need to. I just got a kitten a few weeks ago, still locked in a spare room, and she can't be trusted yet to run the house fully. So cute though. Cats can be menaces. These can be menaces too, but it's rewarding. It is rewarding. She's currently sitting on the floor sulking now. So, but yeah, I need to organize. I need to change my room around to support a doggo cam. But yeah, I will do it. Why is providing SSL certificate such a pain in the? My IP changed last night, and it's not auto updating. And when it does change in the API, it does not properly change the domain and certificate. Oof, I don't know. So for Liquid Sky, I'm using Cloudflare free. So I could just point it to my domain and that's fine. And it's hosted locally. So the domain has a certificate on it, right? So I don't have to worry about IP that way. You have to be the provider. Gotcha. Eesh. Yes, that's not fun. So the thing I'm thinking about is right this second, the problem I'm going to have is the fact that, let me go to the right piece, application, entity subscription, processing changes. We need to reorganize that code. The fact that I'm clicking through things, not knowing what I'm looking for, that's my indicator that I've got this organized incorrectly. I need to change that. That's a usability smell for me in terms of maintenance, and I think that needs changing. So I publish this event identifier, subscription identifier, tenant identifier, source user identifier, and a codon, right? So this event happened, tell this person, right? Or tell the person that it needs to be done. I don't need, who I'm sending this to, because the subscription identifier is the piece I need on the other side, right? That's the coordinating identifier for the subscription. When I publish the change details, though, right, I don't have this information. I have this information because I don't know about the subscription from the notifications piece. And maybe this just means that I need to reorganize my data a bit. Maybe it shouldn't matter. Maybe the subscription identifier should care about the length of the like when it needs to do stuff. My concern is that if I put this piece here, the changes piece that I'm taking the data from here. This is this event going into this system over here and being stored. The presence of that means that I can actually react to it appearing. But if I put it as an API, I then constantly have to poll here. So it gives me a different problem. So yeah. When a server registers itself, I reach out to Cloudflare to make an internal and external subdomain and generate a wildcard certificate from the server will then use that certificate. Okay. Morning, Mars. How you doing? Just in time. So what I've got to be careful of here, by the way, and this is something we always have to be careful of, is that I'm not hacking data into places to solve my problem, that I'm genuinely assessing, do I need that information? Can I get that information? And some complex systems. Nice. Yeah. So I'm just trying to make sure that I start these for the right reasons. So that, again, if the event ID comes in here, do I just end the saga if... But again, over here, all I have is the event ID. I don't have anything else. But in the long running version, I think I need to trigger different events. I think they are separate sagas triggered by different events. I think that's the truth. In the case of me, basically when I receive the notification, I have to determine which type of saga I need. You trigger me, I'm leaving you. Okay, man. Well, I'm leaving you too. I'm aware, so it could be better. I ran the numbers and I need about 2.5 million to invest to get an average out. Keeps my current lifestyle. Oof. Yeah, I'm a long way away from that. So, but yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, unfortunately, I have a day job that I need to get to. More fun. Anybody who is not Anna doing any dev that we want to raid into? I like to raid to Anna because Anna's working on .NET stuff and it's very relevant. I promise I will get on with this content. However, on Friday, we're going to do the AI stream. So I will talk about this stuff as well, but I do want to present something I built. So I did build something using AI. I want to present that on Friday's stream. Basically, I want to go through my thoughts and my opinions on, after having done that and built something of some level of complexity, the challenges I faced, and also what I think about using these tools going forward. So if you're interested in those conversations, that conversation will start there. And also One Lion, who we will now shout out. Let's snooze that a second. One Lion on Fridays hosts a community day stream, and oftentimes the conversation goes there. So it may feed into something there. I don't know. I don't know what my meeting schedule looks like on Friday. However, on Friday I have a very hard stop a little early because I have a meeting with my boss's boss straight at 9 o'clock. So I have to finish. I cannot overrun. So, but I'll be back on Friday, PT tomorrow. So sadly, that schedule will continue for the next couple of weeks where I'm doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But then as soon as PT is done, I will be back to 5 days a week of doing this stuff. Again, if you're interested, there is a Discord. You're more than welcome to check out and join in any conversations there, or start conversations. People say quiet and then don't start conversations. So we'll go raid it over to Anna if there's no one else we can raid. Not that I don't like raiding Anna, but you know, the only .NET dev streaming that I can see. So I'll be back on Friday. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for coming and hanging out. Thank you for the support. Maybe enjoy your walk if you're still there at all. And I will see you all next time. Take care all. Bye.